Imagine a modern leader making a public announcement, "I will not change my clothes until this war is over, because God told me not to." Today, it would sound like a bizarre headline. But in 15th century Spain, it was the kind of declaration that made a woman a legend. Her name was Isabella of Castile. She was one of the most powerful queens Europe had ever seen, and one of the most feared. In the year 1482, the nation we know as Spain did not yet exist. The Iberian Peninsula was a fractured land. The last Muslim kingdom, Granada, remained For Isabella, this was not just a political conflict. It was a holy mission, a battle she believed God himself had chosen for her. According to several chroniclers of the time, during the long and exhausting campaign against Granada, Isabella made a deeply personal vow. She promised that she would not change her royal shirt, her camisa, until the city finally surrendered. This wasn't a political gesture for public approval. It was an act of pure devotion, a personal sacrifice offered directly to heaven. The war dragged on for months. The queen remained inside crowded, unsanitary military camps, surrounded by dust, smoke, blood, and disease. By the end of the campaign, her clothes were reportedly so ruined they had to be burned, not as part of a ceremony, but because they were simply no longer wearable. To her followers, this was undeniable proof of her holiness. To her critics, it was a sign of a dangerous obsession. But Isabella's faith didn't stop at personal vows. She ruled as a woman who believed heaven was actively guiding her every decision. Court records and diplomatic letters from the era describe her constant prayers, her long nights spent alone in chapels, and her complete reliance on confessors and religious advisors. She held a firm, unwavering belief that saints were personally protecting her reign. Some witnesses claim that Isabella spoke openly about receiving divine signs, of feeling spiritual guidance, of messages she believed came directly from above. Whether these were actual visions, symbolic interpretations of events, or simply the expression of her own intense personal conviction, no one in her court dared to question her. Because in Isabella's world, religion was not separate from power. It was asterisk power. And then there were the rules, the strict, unbending rules that made Isabella's court one of the most rigidly controlled environments in all of Europe. She was deeply obsessed with moral purity, not just her own, but the purity of every woman who served near her. Ambassadors visiting Castile described the court as silent, somber, and tightly policed. Young noblewomen were watched constantly. Romantic relationships were heavily restricted. Private behavior became a matter of public responsibility, where a woman's reputation could end her entire family's future at court. Some later chroniclers and foreign observers even reported rumors that medical examinations were used to investigate the virtue of certain court women. While modern historians cannot confirm how systematic such practices truly were, the atmosphere itself is well documented. An environment of fear, surveillance, and absolute control over female behavior. To Isabella, a woman's honor was not a personal matter. It was political. The royal court was meant to be a perfect reflection of God's order on earth. And if anyone failed to meet that standard, they simply disappeared, quietly removed, sent back to distant estates, or erased from court life entirely. But Isabella's religious certainty did not remain confined within palaced walls. It spilled out to shape the future of an entire country. Under her rule, the Spanish Inquisition expanded its power dramatically. Officially, its purpose was to protect the Christian faith from heresy. In practice, it became a terrifying instrument of fear. Secret trials, anonymous accusations, and public punishments became commonplace. Confessions were often forced under extreme pressure. Thousands were investigated. Many were imprisoned. Some were executed. Isabella believed this suffering was a necessary evil. In her mind, a kingdom with a divided faith was a divided kingdom, and a divided kingdom could not survive. In 1492, Granada finally fell. The last Muslim ruler surrendered his city. Isabella entered in triumph, a victorious Christian monarch. Her vow was fulfilled. The Holy War was complete. That very same year, she signed another decree that would change history forever. She approved the expulsion of all Jews from Spain. Families who had lived on Spanish soil for centuries were suddenly ordered to leave, convert, or lose everything: their homes, their businesses, their communities, their very identity. Once again, Isabella believed she was obeying God. She wasn't acting on political strategy or economic advice. She was following the will of heaven. To some historians, Isabella is remembered as a unifier, the woman who forged modern Spain and funded Christopher Columbus, becoming the architect of a global empire. To others, she was something far more disturbing, a ruler who allowed absolute faith to silence all doubt, a woman who believed that divine authority gave her the right to inflict immense human suffering. Was Isabella a saint or a fanatic, a visionary leader or a dangerous zealot who confused the voice of heaven with the pursuit of power? Because when a ruler truly believes that God speaks only to them, there can be no opposition. There can be no debate. There is only obedience. And that is what made Isabella of Castile so powerful. It wasn't her army. It wasn't her crown. It was her certainty. So this leads to a real question for us today. If you lived under a ruler who believed heaven guided their every decision, would you feel protected? Or would you feel trapped? History remembers Isabella as a great queen. But behind the crown stood a woman who ruled not only a kingdom, but the conscience of everyone in it. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please consider subscribing for more journeys into the complex past.